Echoes of War was recently added with the Homecoming update, being a new quote-unquote endgame mode that brings with it a new set of challenges. If Free Crisis is all about fast kills and full ultimate starts, Umbral Monument is about working with stage gimmicks, and Contingency Contract is pushing for high-scoring clears with difficult risks, Echoes of War is more reminiscent of the traditional endgame mode seen in other similar gacha, with a bonus challenge that rewards clearing within a specific time period. These time attack style objectives do tend to raise some concerns, especially as timers can seem quite aggressive at first. Age of Access demands a kill in under 1 minute for it, and when many character rotations go well past that, it can at first seem like it'd be too difficult a threshold for certain teams to meet. In truth though, it's actually incredibly easy to pull off. So let's go through some few clears and then talk a bit about this mode, because even the setup heavy operators like Fangyi can clear comfortably enough that a fourth team member isn't even needed. I did mean it when I said comfortably. If I didn't have cold feet when it came to committing to Fangyi's final strike, or if I didn't waste time on a perfect dodge, or if I was a little luckier with interruptible skills, this wouldn't be a 50-second clear, it could be a 55 or 54. These are minor things though, because in case you didn't notice, Fangyi's weapon had no essences. At all. To put that into perspective, the will and attack percent combined would amount to almost 2000 attack indifference if using Link Slap. If this 3-man team is geared, then it needs none of the optimizations on show here. It's more than enough damage. To be fair, I don't expect anyone to be pushing for brutal mode bonus challenge goals without having an essence equipped on their main damage dealer. So let's have a look at what actual gear teams can do. Never mind clearing in a minute, multiple teams can do it in half that time. I feel there's a tinge of irony to be had here. Their latest limited unit, Arcane, renowned for being obscenely strong, wasn't even able to keep up with a Japan physical team, which makes use of no limited operators or standard potentials. Naturally, this only applies to the clears I have on show here. The cool thing about Enfield's endgame is that it encourages creative problem solving. I was using a traditional Last Rite build here, but then Bluejay comes along with a combo skill damage build instead. Why bother with Last Rite's ultimate when you can kill faster without ever having to fall back on it? Admittedly, Shill is still a factor. With Echoes of War being a more traditional gacha endgame, it isn't difficult to have certain operators be made to be better than others for a given cycle. In fact, we've seen this with Skydrummer. It had 50 increased res, and this heavily favors Arcane. With no arts intensity or gear factored in, a 4-stack corrosion on Rodon takes an attack dealing 189 damage to 235 damage, a 24% increase. This is expected, after all, that's how much a 4-stack corrosion reduces the enemy res by. Triangulos, however, takes only 80% from physical attacks. A 4-stack corrosion on it takes an attack from 151 to 197, which is a 30% increase. That's because our good old friend Saturation rears its head. When it says, the Skydrummer gains 50 resistance against all enemies, that means its res multiplier is set to times 0.5, meaning all attacks are doing only half the damage they normally would. Arcane then, with her times 1.1 bonus to corrosion, gets massive value out of this. Even without building for pure arts intensity, like on an Eternal Shuranite armor and Hot Work power cartridge, she can get up to 42.4% increase to corrosion scaling. A 4-stack corrosion with Arcane's talent would amount to 37.6% in res reduction, so 37.6% more damage on neutral enemies, but a 75.2% increase to Skydrummer. Half the res, double the relative value. The difference between Arcane in a neutral environment versus the Echoes of War Skydrummer amounts to a greater gain than most characters' entire P0 to P5 progression. Except that, well, corrosion isn't unique to Arcane. Gilberta could do much the same. If anything, she'd be even stronger as she's more accommodating of lower ultimate gain efficiency thresholds, allowing for her to get higher arts intensity. What makes Arcane good isn't just her corrosion. The Shill helped her get good times, yes, but it wasn't the sole reason for it. And for all this harpy on Skydrummer, there's a reason I was clearing faster with physical on Age of Axes. The cycles changed, and this time, there's no unique mechanics. In fact, there's a reason none of the runs showcased made use of corrosion. Even on my own guide to Arcane, I had it integrated into her rotations. But the nature of Enfield's endgame, be that Recrisis, Umbral Monument, Contingency Contract, and now Echoes of War, is that there are no fixed rotations. Each team and encounter combination has its own unique demands, and I find that it's in learning how to optimize around them that makes the game fun. There's always the possibility that Shill gets more egregious as time goes on, but as it stands, Echoes of War allows for all operators to showcase their value, not just the latest featured unit. Between the ease of getting all rewards, competitive performance of various different teams, and the ability to reuse operators across different stages, Echoes of War is very accessible. Doubly so when you consider that even hitting the bonus challenge criteria is itself an accessible goal. So it's time to address the question from the title. Did Endfield finally get an endgame? If it wasn't already apparent, the answer is no. It didn't finally get an endgame because it's already had it. Echoes of War isn't the endgame, it's an endgame. It's only the latest in a series of modes that offer differing sandboxes for players to express their skill and progression. It is being put at the forefront of them though. Like with Contingency Contract, this is being pushed to be very visible, rank show up on profile and even on friend lists. But unlike Contingency Contract, these won't be going away anytime soon. It's a permanent game mode after all. And in my opinion, Echoes of War hints at a broader crystallization of endgame objectives in Endfield. Early on, the game didn't have timers for Recrisis. But when Crisis Fragment was introduced, it brought with it a system where a timer would come up after killing the boss, and the stage clock at the top left would be frozen. And surprisingly, this same system was added to Recrisis too. It also got quick restarts added as well, which are now a staple of every game mode. Press P, and instead of having to load out and load back in for another attempt, it's an immediate reset. Both in-game timer tracking and accessible retries are great ways to enable speedrunning, all of which has gotten even better with another new addition. One of the best things that Contingency Contract brought with it was what came up after a run, the summary page. A very clear and distinct overview of operators, their potentials, weapons, essence levels, gear, and the time to complete. And this very same system is present in Echoes of War. At a single glance, you can grasp all of the basic information associated with that clear. If you're trying to speedrun Umbral Monument, you better be recording, because as soon as the boss dies, the timer immediately disappears. The end screen comes and that's it. The summary page fixes this. And it even has a button that saves a screenshot of the clear for sharing or record keeping. There are no public rankings for Echoes of War, and I find this to be a good thing, but it's set up in such a way that encourages community interaction. Slowly but surely, the developers are adding systems that get players to want to push for better clears without it feeling overbearing. At least to me, seeing that final clear time clock in at 28 seconds when I know I could do 27, heck, 26, is in itself an invitation to try again. The rewards in Echoes of War don't demand bonus challenge clears, but the presence of a strict time cutoff becomes an objective. The difficulty behind the game mode is less about its rewards, but in the ways that it works as a sandbox to encourage players to challenge themselves. I mean, Contingency Contract was really quote-unquote easy too. Risk 20 was all it demanded of players, so why bother with anything more? To answer this obviously rhetorical question, it's because the reward is in the challenge itself, in pushing for a higher number, working around ever-increasing restrictions, or improving with every subsequent run. The thumbnail of this video was a little clickbaity, but it's a question worth asking. Echoes of War isn't easy, even if meeting the bonus challenge goal is not all that difficult. Simply having it there to begin with gives those wanting more of the game something to work towards, but it's in pushing beyond it that's the real challenge. There are no extra rewards nor a leaderboard to work to. Simply do the best that you can and relish on the process of getting better. All in all, I like Echoes of War. It's not perfect by any means. I wish we had tankier fights like Skydrummer on every cycle, but the shorter ones like Age of Axes allow for different rotations that otherwise not so used elsewhere. I know that not everyone will be pushing for speedruns or trying to optimize the minutiae of every stage, but even then it offers a more familiar take to endgame that I, for one, am quite happy with. If you happen to be interested in seeing more challenge runs, speedruns, or just general character guides for upcoming operators, why not like, share, subscribe, and ring the bell to be notified for when they drop? I've got more videos coming. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.